All right, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're going to be talking about week one. It's in the books. And a little chaotic, I know, but I think we're going to get things under control very soon here. I enjoyed it, and I hope you guys did as well. The results were very interesting, and, we're now under that 48 minutes per position thing, and I think this league is going to be a lot more challenging. And it's not like other leagues you're going to find, because it takes a lot of personal work on my part to make these things happen. I have to upload the stats, do the spreadsheets, but they are a lot easier now that we only have one position per player. It made it actually very easy, and I was very happy about that. I think, you guys are just getting used to accessing the box scores and the standings. I'm going to be doing all that manually because it just has to be that way. And it's not really that difficult. It's all in the message board. I'm going to go down to the message board right now. Here it is, the message forum. This is where you're going to find your box scores. You go right here. This is period one. And all you have to do is click on one of these and you can access the box scores. Other than that, I just wanted to go over a couple things really quickly before we move on. I'm going to be making more videos like this season. I plan to make probably one a week, and I'd like to go over maybe some of the transactions that went down, and then go over some of the box scores from the best performing teams, or maybe teams of interest, perhaps. So let's get into this thing. In this past week, we just had transactions yesterday go down, and as you can see, they're all right here. There wasn't a lot of them, but you can see the Warriors picked up Bilal Coulibaly. I hope I said that right. And they'll let go of Shaedon Sharpe. Very interesting move there. Shaedon Sharpe, a top prospect. But as you can see, he's got that whole flag with the line through it, and that's never a good thing. And he's got a shoulder issue. And the problem with Shaedon is he's always had injury problems. And this guy has not lived up to the hype, for sure. In another transaction, the Saints made a small-time deal. They waived Spencer Dinwiddie, who did not perform very well in week one, and they picked up Kyle Lowry, who's only making about $2 million, and he's a trusty veteran. Kyle Lowry signed by the Saints, and they immediately made an offer to the Houston Rockets for a round 3 draft pick next year, a free agent draft pick next year. The Rockets, of course, suffering the loss of DeJounte Murray. That's William Slavy's team. And now he's down to just one point guard. William went with kind of the bare bones roster, about 12 or 13 players, and he already lost DeJounte for several weeks due to a broken hand. And I think he has Russell Westbrook as the backup. Very good player per minute, but not going to play all the minutes you need at center. And William didn't have not center, I meant point guard. And William didn't have a third guard in the rotation. So far this year, Kyle Lowry is averaging 23.5 minutes, so that's rounded up 24 minutes. He's shooting 56% as a point guard. Pretty amazing stuff right there. He's a worthy veteran. He's still got some game left. You can see he's been in the league for 18 years, and he would really help out the Rockets, who also had a decent week. Other deals that went down free agent-wise, you've got the Sixers picking up Dunn. This is Ryan Dunn, who is a rookie this year. Ryan Dunn out of Virginia. He was the 28th overall pick late in the first round, making $2.5 million. So the Sixers decided to let go of Leonard Miller. Leonard looks like he wasn't even playing in week one, so smart move right there. And you can see here there's that pending transaction I talked about between the Saints and the Rockets. And, if you guys need any help making deals, learning how to use the trade system, reach out to me and I'll make a quick video on that. Perhaps it's not really that hard. One thing you got to remember about this site is that there's these question marks. You can use these. Always click on the little question marks when you're trying to do things. Like, let's just look at my roster real quick here. Let's say I wanted to make a trade. I might say right there, right? Trade with Philadelphia or something like that. Continue. there's always going to be little question boxes where that'll help you out. Like there, you can get tutorials. You know what I'm saying? It's everywhere on the site. So I would say, use those to your advantage. You don't necessarily need to come to me for everything because the site does provide you information. You just got to spend some time with it. But at any rate, let's get on with the analysis. And let's start off with the Denver Nuggets. That's AJ Nardi's team. They had the best week. And they scored, as you can see, 139.63 points, which was good for the best record. They barely edged out my Saints. The Saints here, you can see, scored 137.12. And the third best team this week was the San Francisco Warriors at 131.68. These were the top three teams. Remember, we have 9 teams in this league, and everybody plays everybody each week. So let's take a close look here at the Broncos. Let's look at the Nuggets box score. The top minute getter was De'Aaron Fox, and you can see that his 48-minute stats. So you want to pay attention to these 48-minute stats. You can see that he averaged 22.67 points if he had played 48 minutes, and he played a whopping 39 minutes in this game, which led to 18.4 fantasy points. For a guard, 20 is pretty much the drawing line. You want 20 or better per 48. For a forward, you want 30 or better, especially power forwards and centers. Small forwards, they're kind of like in-between players, a little bit shorter, so you can accept maybe something in the mid-20s for a small forward. But 48-minute stats for guards should at least be 20 or better for a decent performance. So as you can see, not a bad performance here by their starter, De'Aaron Fox, but not exactly, killing it either. And he played a lot of minutes, which didn't leave a lot for the backup point guard, which was Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones also averaging 21.32 per 48. He only played 9 minutes. So basically they're getting about 22 points per 48 minutes at the guard position, the point guard position. Next in minutes was Domantas Sabonis, a guy that I was really shocked did not get signed in the free agent draft before the season. But of course, Denver pulled out some moves and they acquired Domantas Sabonis. He played 38 minutes, and you can see right here, those 48-minute stats are excellent, 37.22. Domantas Sabonis is a guy that's going to give you that all season long, and if he does anything like last year, he's going to play almost every game. Very good pickup here for Domantas. In the future, I'm actually going to make box scores with I'm going to add the salaries and the ages of the players just so we can kind of refer to those quickly. But Domantas making a very reasonable, I think it's like 40 million, 41 million right now. Of course, he is going to go up in price over the next few years, but if he keeps producing the way he has been, he's going to be worth every penny. So he had a good game. The next minutes getter was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Excellent game there for the shooter. This is why the Nuggets won all their games this week. I mean, great production from guys like Shai Gilgeous and Domantas Sabonis. Look at that. For a shooting guard, 38.79 per 48, that's not going to be topped. Jeremy Sochan was the starting small forward, 24.5 points. You can deal with that. That's 24.5 per 48. And he played 32 minutes. That's reasonable for a small forward. You might want a little bit more, but like I said, anything in the mid-20s for a small forward is reasonable. The starting center was Nick Richards. He put in 30 minutes. He got 31.27 per 48. Still not bad, but, a lot of centers can do better than that. So, it is what it is. It's a solid game. There's nothing wrong with it, but it could be better for a center. And where they really struggled a little bit, the Nuggets, and it didn't cause them to lose a game, but it was kind of surprising, was this guy right here. Victor Wembanyama in week 1 scored just 22.85 for 48 minutes. He only played 18 minutes because AJ was on the best ball lineup situation, where basically when you just don't submit a lineup, and you can put it on the message board. If you have an old lineup, if you don't want it being used, just post on the message board, use best ball, something like that. When you do best ball, basically I make your ranking list based on how many points the player has on the season. That's gross points. So that can be a good thing because you're getting your best guys on the season out there on the court every every week. However, there are times when guys who play less minutes are going to be better per minute than the starters. So, best ball is fine, and especially early in the season, it can benefit you. And it obviously did benefit Denver. But down the line, it's not going to benefit you as much to not recognize a guy that doesn't play a lot of minutes and scores a lot of points. So you want to keep that in mind when you're looking at, making out your roster and using the best ball scenario, because it's not based on the last week's performance. It's based on the season performance. That's what the rankings are based on. So you might want to start looking at some role players, put them ahead of guys, that are normally traditional starters. I'll give you an example. The Saints have right here, it's small forward Josh Hart, who's a very good player, and that's not bad numbers, but we always put Tari Eason in front of Josh Hart in the rotation. Even though he only plays 16 minutes, look at that. Look at those numbers per 48. 31.55 for Tari Eason. That's outstanding numbers. And you always want him playing in front of Josh Hart, who's more of a guard-type player. Now, that's very respectable numbers right there, 24.26. However, I would rather have Tari Eason at 31.55 per 48 getting minutes over Hart, especially because, as you can see here, Josh Hart plays about 31 minutes a game. And he would take up the bulk of the minutes and leave. In this situation, actually, he wouldn't take any of Tari Eason's minutes because Tari's only going to play 16. So in this scenario, you're not going to lose Tari's minutes. But what if Tari Eason played 20 minutes, 22 minutes, and still had this kind of production? You would rather have him on the court over Josh Hart. So that's just an example of why you just don't go with best ball every time. Anyways, getting back to the Nuggets, good game though. I mean, the big question mark maybe is De'Aaron Fox playing point guard for them, making pretty good cash too. He's in the low 30s, maybe the mid 30s, maybe 36 million. That's kind of spendy on a guy he's really good, but he's not necessarily a top level point guard. I think he's a little overrated, and you can expect numbers like 22.6 per 48 throughout the season, maybe sometimes dipping into the teens. So if you can find like a role player that can maybe eat into some of these minutes, he's getting big minutes, 39. He's taken up almost all the minutes at point guard. You might consider somebody on the bench that plays less minutes to put him ahead. Tyus Jones obviously plays a lot of minutes. I'm not seeing any point guards on the Denver roster that are low-minute guys, so that's something that AJ might think about. Go out there, maybe spend a little money, and you won't have to spend much to get a role player, and you might be able to get a little bit more out of your roster, get a little bit more points on the board. But nevertheless, they still had the best score this week, and they went 8-0 as a result because everybody plays everybody, and then I translate the results to match NBA results. NBA is about 3 games in, so I multiply your winning percentage on 8 games by 3.5 to give you your record in this league. And so Denver would be 3-0. So would the San Diego Saints be 3-0 because they were 7-1. So when you round up, they get 3 wins. I think same goes for San Francisco. At any rate, we're going to move along now, go on to the Saints. And the Saints also a very strong week. They had the second most points. Zion Williamson, their first-round draft pick, had a decent game, but at power forward, 28.6 isn't really necessarily cutting it. And that's why the Saints this week, that's me, is going to go ahead and start Daniel Gafford ahead of Williamson, because Gafford, as you can see, his regular minutes in the NBA was just 18. He's not going to eat up all the minutes. And look at those numbers per 48, 37.5. I don't care if Gafford plays 25 minutes and eats into Zion's numbers that much. Zion could play less minutes than Gafford as far as I'm concerned, so long as I'm getting 37.5 per 48. And Zion is only getting 28.6. Now, I know Zion's going to do better than this. He's going to be in the 30s. I watched that game against the Blazers, most of it, the second game they played. And yeah, Z was running the lane like he always does, trying to charge the basket, and that he just wasn't converting. Maybe they weren't calling fouls. He's very physical. He goes up against the defender, and he'll take the contact. And if the ref ain't going to call it, well, he's trying to shoot under duress, and that can lead to a pretty poor field goal percentage, and that's exactly what happened to Z. Second highest minutes getter for the Saints was Josh Giddey playing the 2, and 24.2 is acceptable for a 2 guard. His backup was Derek White, pretty much identical numbers. Saints are very happy with those results. From the two-guard position, Ja Morant playing the point. You know, last year he averaged in the 30s, and he's done that in the past when he's been healthy for a long period of time. He was in the 26.48 range, which is acceptable for a point guard, but, you know, could be better. I think that we're expecting a lot more out of Ja Morant. We went ahead and tried to pull one of those moves where you put a role player in to get some minutes behind him, Craig Porter, who only played about 4 minutes, and his 48-minute stats weren't all that impressive at 19.52. Jalen Suggs had such a good week, averaging 30.88 per 48, that he will definitely be on the court behind Ja Morant next week. Yusuf Nurkic, pretty strong center. I mean, 31.1. He could be better, but you'll take it. Nurkic never plays a lot of minutes, so he doesn't eat them all up. And this is one of the Saints' strengths, is they got Clint Capella and Yusuf Nurkic, and they're both going to get pretty much all the minutes they play because either one averages 30 minutes a game. So it's a nice little two-headed center that the Saints have going on there. And then, of course, Luke Kornet is the guy that comes off the bench to fill up any of the remaining minutes. And Kornet's a pretty good player usually, but yeah, he didn't play too cleverly this week with just 20.8 per 48. But the Saints still with a very impressive game. I think one guy you got to look at when you look at the Saints' success this week was Daniel Gafford. Outstanding game with 37.5 points per 48. And he scored 14 fantasy points. As you can see, he scored as many points as guys were scoring with way more minutes. So Gafford is a very valuable player in this league, and he's also very reasonably priced. Okay, moving along to the Warriors. This will be the last team we cover, and I'm going to cut this video off after this. You got Luka, of course, coming in, doing the thing, doing Luka's thing. He played 38 minutes, always gets a lot of minutes. Not necessarily a Luka-type game from the 48-minute standpoint, but at point guard, you'll take 30-plus all day long. And Luka is always good to cover almost all your minutes at point guard. It makes the backup not really that important for this team. Kobe White was the backup. Didn't play too cleverly, 10 minutes, but you'll take it, 21.93. It wasn't a complete train wreck. Chet Holmgren is an outstanding player for the Warriors. Look at that. He plays 33 minutes in this game, and he scores on a 42.15 per 48 basis. I mean, that is outstanding. Look at that fantasy score, 28.98. Chet Holmgren is the real deal for the Warriors, and he's going to make them very dangerous. And this past week, they also added Anthony Davis. So look out for the Warriors. They're going to be good this year. Donovan Mitchell, high-priced shooting guard. Okay, 23.28. You'll take it, but you'd like a little bit more out of him, maybe something in the high 20s. Bam Adebayo kind of floundered a little bit at the center position. That's probably why the Warriors didn't have the best score this week. And they did trade Bam Adebayo this past week to the Fort Wayne Pistons. Jalen Williams, also a guy that they spent a little bit of capital on in the offseason. At small forward, averaged 21.3. Yeah, you'd like a little bit more, and he takes up a lot of minutes. So we'll see where they go from that. Amen Thompson really struggled this week. Very surprising. Amen Thompson, 22 minutes, only 15.38 per 48. But still, the Warriors were able to beat everybody but the Saints and the Nuggets. A lot of guys down here, producing all right. Scottie Pippen is a guy that they just traded, and he looks very interesting. He's one of those role players I'm talking about. Look at the minutes. He scores 16 points in his fantasy games, 23 minutes. If you can get this guy on the court ahead of your starter, you're going to get this kind of production. Oh, my gosh. I mean, that's like star level, superstar point guard numbers right there. So, at any rate, Amen Thompson struggled. This team has probably got Anthony Davis possibly moving to center. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they do. I'm not sure if that's what they're doing right now as far as like what they submitted on their depth chart. I guess I could look real quick. The Warriors submitted a depth chart this morning, and let's just have a look here. They went with Holmgren, Vucevic, and Huff. So, yeah, they decided to stick with that group. So no Anthony Davis moving over to center. He's going to play power forward, as you can see right there. So anyways, I only got 30 minutes of recording time, so I'm going to cut this video short because I might be running out of time. I'm probably up against the clock, but a little later on, I might kind of cover the other teams, maybe pick a topic or something and see what I can do there. Anyways, I will talk to you guys soon, and thanks for playing.